With Donald Trump, the grift is so shocking and egregious each time that it can become numbing. But try not to be numb. This one is a doozy. Starting August 1st, the company that owns his social media platform, Truth Social, says it's going to start selling Wall Street trading firms direct real-time access to posts on his site, which Donald Trump uses to announce big foreign policy and economic policy decisions in posts that have literally shifted global financial markets. Just this week, it was on Truth Social where Donald Trump announced a new naval blockade against Iran and his own flip-flop on charging ships in the Strait of Hormuz, and his reversal of his administration's decision to halt ICE traffic stops. So even a split-second faster access to those policy announcements, which is what they are, for better or for worse, is an unquestionable edge financially for trading firms. What do you think this is really about? Well, the Associated Press says this move follows, quote, similar offers of paid access on rival platforms, though with one key difference. The most popular Truth Social poster is the president himself. And as the biggest shareholder of the publicly traded parent company, he would directly benefit. Mark and Angelo are still with us. Angelo, I said this about the election speech last night with far more colorful language in a conversation with my friend Tim Miller. He's asking his base to follow, bleep sandwich after bleep sandwich after bleep sandwich, right? Like, we know it's a grift. We know it's a scam. We know it's Trump grifting off a side hustle to Wall Street by enriching himself. It's not even just about letting them get rich off his posts. It's about him getting even richer. What is, in your view, sort of the place where self-respect and looking savvy enough to say, I like what MAGA offers, but not at the expense of my family's savings, not at the expense of my family paying 10 times more at Walmart or my family paying 5 times more to fill up the truck or the minivan? Where is that line where self-respect issues some sort of political backlash for Trump?
Yeah, I mean, it was starting, and it'll be a cumulative effect. There isn't going to be a single catalyzing moment, especially in this context. It'll be a slow burn that will eventually lead those regrets to materialize into actual defections where his supporters push back on him. In this case, as opposed to some of the other things that he's done, like the crypto things, where he was actually literally extracting the money predominantly from his own supporters, pumping up something for them to invest in and then cashing out while they were left holding the bag with an asset that was going to be depleted. In this case, this is sort of an innovation. It is, as you noted, it's an escalation and an adaptation, but the target here is Wall Street. It's sort of these abstracts. It's the rich people that the same people that we're talking about here already have oppositional negative feelings about, right? So they're happy if Trump grifts off them, or at least they don't care about it. But I think the one thing that does potentially connect it was it's not just the fact that they're turning something, they used to potentially trade on this information, right? They had advanced knowledge. They would use it to potentially make some trades or make money. Now they're just turning it into a subscription service, and that's sort of the scandal. The secondary scandal that has the potential for the larger audience is that the CEO promised or suggested that there'd also be some consequences and friction for the Wall Street firms and banks that don't buy into this advance notice, that they'll make it more difficult for them to get this information. That's the real reveal, I think, that has broader implications for the larger audience, because they're turning a platform that is supposedly for his faithful, for the very people that we're talking about here. And now they're not only monetizing it, but they're manipulating it in such a way and promising friction that's going to disrupt the platform's purpose, orientation. It's not just going to be about communicating with them. It's going to be about what is now as maximally profiting off of the product. And as you noted, the product is the presidency. But I don't think there's going to be a single moment. It's going to be a cumulative effect. And this is going to go back into the grist meal about the larger frustration that the audience is beginning to have with them just making money all the time and ignoring all the harms that they're experiencing.
Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, 2 things. The first is, we shouldn't overestimate the president's popularity. I mean, he is losing altitude with his base. Like, his base is markedly smaller than it was, when he was elected in 2024. And so, like, he is very unpopular. That is the reason why he's doing all this stuff with the elections, because he has sort of given up trying to be popular and instead decided to just go all grift all the time. And therefore, that has brought him to have to do the voter suppression and election subversion stuff that he does. But I think the second question that I'd ask is, I mentioned the law firms earlier. We talked about the large media companies. How about some of these banks just say no? You know what? We've made lots of money. Goldman Sachs, we've made lots of money without this. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon come out and say, you know what? We make billions of dollars without this. So we're just going to say no, because we believe that our dignity and self-respect, the thing that you and I were just talking about, Jay Clayton, I'd ask the same thing of these Wall Street titans. Have you no dignity? Have you no self-respect that you're not going to pay the president money to get his social media posts? Have you no other way to earn revenue in the stock market or the bond market or the currency markets, whatever it is? And so, I don't want to let them off the hook here, because they are powerful people who have agency, and they could just say no.